Chelsea lost 2-1 to Spurs in the last game of the Australian leg of the pre-season tour. Albeit it was only a pre-season game, this is exactly what pre-season's for, so there's no need to lose our heads over it, but let's take a little look at the winners and losers from today's game. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, that means talking about a loss to Tottenham. And look, like I said, man, it's pre-season, it's not the end of the world, but it's always difficult to lose to Tottenham, isn't it? But either way, let's take a little look at what I noticed during the game. So the first winner of the game for me today was Estevao Willian. Obviously, he got the one goal that we managed to score, but generally managed to look really dangerous throughout. There were moments from João Pedro, there were moments from Cole Palmer, but Estevao Willian, with his header, was the only player that was able to get over the line. I just think it's really promising to see Estevao Willian playing so well at this point. Obviously, it's really easy to forget that he actually came back from what was supposed to be a really long injury quite recently. So Estevao being a winner in this game for me isn't only about scoring the goal, it's the fact that he's recovered from his hamstring injury so quickly, like much quicker than intended, and ultimately looked like, for me, probably the most dangerous player on the pitch for us today. Moving on from the first loser of today's game, and it's got to be Kevin Dano, hasn't it? Oh man, so Jan-Paul van Hekke started the game and was taken off at half-time. I don't know whether that's just because, you know, they're changing things up or fitness or whatever, but ultimately Kevin Dano was given the opportunity to play the next 45 minutes of football. And within 3 minutes, he got sent off for a ridiculous challenge on João Pedro. Oh, man. And look, you know, Spurs fans will be saying exactly the same thing that I'm saying now. It's only pre-season. It doesn't necessarily matter. But these are the kind of things that your manager, Roberto De Zerbi, will be looking at. And it like 3 minutes, man. 3 minutes. Absolute horror show from Kevin Dano. And ultimately, the difficult thing about that is it puts Spurs on the back foot. But ultimately, I think Spurs will probably be okay because I don't expect him to play that much football. Obviously, Jan-Paul van Hekke, Senesi, you know, they've got new shiny centre-backs exactly for this reason, but I think he has to be the first loser of the game, doesn't he? The next winner of the game I've given to a Spurs player, and it's Matty Tel. Look, I think everything dangerous that happened through Spurs, for the most part, apart from their goals actually, but, you know, for the rest of the game, Matty Tel looked so dangerous and was dribbling through our players like they weren't even there at some points. He just looked like a constant threat for Spurs. Now, he joined them on loan from Bayern Munich at the same time that we were looking at him. There was all this talk about Matty Tel going to Chelsea, and then the last minute he ended up going to Spurs. And he was on loan from Bayern Munich, and he's actually there. They've bought him now, so he's like their player. I think, look, the one thing about Tottenham's rebuild is it's been very focused on the defence, very focused on the midfield, but they haven't really brought in loads of attackers yet. They were linked with Krupi from Bournemouth, but obviously he's just been injured. You know, they've still got Dom Solanke and Richarlison, who did actually manage to get the last-minute goal that claimed the tie. But I think Spurs fans can probably be quite pleased with how Matty Tel is looking, albeit it is in pre-season. He was very consistently dangerous throughout the game. Like, he definitely made life difficult for us on that left-hand side. And I think if you're a Spurs fan, whether he be playing on the left or whether he ends up being the de facto striker, which may not be the case if they decide to carry on relying on Richarlison and Dom Solanke, I think Matty Tel had a really good game, and for me, like, watching, he was the only player that I was consistently worried about. Like, the two goals, you know, the first goal was a bit of a freak goal. The cutback to Tonali to get the shot was good, but it took a massive deflection off of Levi Colwill. So that's just one of those, it kind of is what it is. And the last goal was relatively calamitous defending from Chelsea and a tap-in from Richarlison. So, you know, they were moments rather than like goals that were worked from really good play. But if Matty Tel keeps up playing the way that he played today in this pre-season game against Chelsea, then chances are he'll be a big player for Spurs next season. Right, we're going to move on to the next loser, and it's not a loser. I've put Romeo Lavia in the picture, but it's for this game, it's Chelsea's midfield, right? You know, we're in pre-season. Moises Caicedo isn't back yet. Reece James obviously is probably going to play in midfield. We are being linked with a lot of midfielders, and it's starting to become more evident why that is. Dario Estevao performed well against Western Sydney Wanderers. Romeo Lavia was injured for that game. Romeo Lavia got the first half of this game and looked okay. Dario Estevao looked a little bit out of his depth, and Subaloy, I think, academy player, came on at half-time, and then Reggie Watson came on like at the end. Look, Lavia and Estevao are supposed to be our depth options, and what happened today is they played up against what is going to be, for the most part, Premier League opposition. Spurs basically overrun our midfield for the majority of the game. Do you know what I mean? Lavia, like, some good tidy passing from Lavia, and Estevao in particular looked like he really struggled. But, and obviously that's, you know, Moises Caicedo obviously is an enormous upgrade on Dario Estevao. But that second midfielder at the moment, like I say, Reece James is the guy, based out of everyone that we've got at the moment, Reece James is the other best midfielder, but we have to be careful with his injury worries and stuff. And obviously he's a versatile player, so we might end up playing a right back going into right centre back and something like that. You know, he might not always be the midfielder. So look, you know, we're not hearing anything about Enzo Fernandez at the moment. We're being linked with, like, Cy Phillips is coming out saying we're still being linked with Adam Wharton and Alex Scott on top of buying Jordan Henderson. So in this game in particular, not Chelsea's midfield on the whole, but you can see in this game our midfield was definitely the weakest part. So look, what's going to happen with Lavia and Estevao if we end up getting Adam Wharton and Alex Scott, which I'm still not sure is going to happen, but that would be crazy. But for me, you can see why Xabi Alonso might be looking up at our midfield and starting to be a little bit concerned about the depth. Obviously, he waxed lyrical about Moises Caicedo the other day, saying how, and this is the thing, this is particularly damning for the other guys as well, because he said something like, I can see what I've missed in my midfield or something. I'm paraphrasing. But he said something that said about how obviously Moises Caicedo elevates the level compared to the rest of what we've got. So look, I like Dario Estevao and I really like Romeo Lavia, but as far as Xabi Alonso sees it, are these guys even good enough to be our depth options? Bringing in Jordan Henderson, I don't expect him to play a lot. So look, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised now, especially if the rumours are true and we are going in for Alex Scott and we are still looking at going in for Adam Wharton as well, to see these guys maybe moved on somehow. It'll probably be a loan for Lavia. Dario Estevao maybe sticks around, I'm not sure. But we've got so many midfielders there, and Barco still obviously hasn't been announced either. So yeah, for me, in this game, based on the squad that we've got there right now, which is not the whole squad, and do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about Chelsea on the whole, but if all we had to rely on was Estevao and Lavia, because Moises Caicedo's injured, or, you know, something has happened, or, you know, players got carded or something, then that's a worry. Do you know what I mean? That's a worry if they're the depth at the moment. You know, and at the end of the day, they've both coming back off big injuries, which again isn't necessarily something to blame them for, but it doesn't mean it's any less of a worry. So, like I say, for this game in particular, but not for, like, you know, and we'll see what happens by the end of the window. But for me right now, Chelsea's midfield looks a little bit like a question mark. Right, moving on to the next winner. And it's Marco Palestra, man. Marco Palestra is just looking phenomenal. I absolutely love watching this kid play. Look, there were a lot of people asking questions, you know, about when we bought Marco Palestra, saying, oh, it's just another 21-year-old. But I think already Marco Palestra is showing that he's a cut above what we've bought in terms of 21-year-olds over the last few seasons. He is, he's just so much energy to him, And there was a few moments in particular, his link up with Estevao on the right. Woo! Chef's kiss, mate. Absolutely lovely. He's technical, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He's got so many excellent attributes, and I feel like he's only going to continue to grow in this game. He had excellent moments with Estevao Willian. He had excellent moments with Cole Palmer as well. And I just think, so far, looks like a phenomenal signing. And first teamer, absolutely is going to be a first teamer. Look, we're talking about 2 preseason games, so I will temper my excitement a little bit. But if I'm completely honest, I've enjoyed watching Marco Palestra more in these last 2 preseason games than I have watching Malagusto for the last 6 months to a year or whatever in a Chelsea shirt. Malagusto kind of looked at his best, I guess, under Maresca when he was kind of all over the place, and that sometimes was frustrating as well. Thus far, almost every time Marco Palestra gets the ball, maybe it's just because he's a new signing as well, but it's exciting. Do you know what I mean? You kind of see something there, but something might happen, and he's so intuitive in linking up with other players. I think he's really, really, really exciting player. I think he was phenomenal in this game. I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing him make things happen as well, especially when you consider the players he's got to link up with on our right-hand side. And the last loser of the day, it's Chelsea. Look, it's pre-season, but it sucks to lose to Tottenham, man. Done it at the end of the day. Like I said, I'm not losing my mind about it because it is pre-season. It is what it is. You know, pre-season is the time where you're allowed to be excited about wins, but you shouldn't be bothered about losses. And as a football fan, we should all appreciate this moment, right? We should all appreciate this moment. Winning all of your pre-season games doesn't mean you're going to go on to have a phenomenal season, and losing all of your pre-season games doesn't mean that you're going to go on to have a terrible season either. It's an opportunity for the manager to take a look at the squad. And like I say, what seems highlighted today, largely for me, apart from the calamitous defending and the depth that came on at the end of the game, is the midfield, right? So yeah, I think the thing is, like, we brought all of those players on at the end, and it looked like, to allow Spurs that minute in the last, the very last second. And the thing is, we probably would have lost on penalties anyway, because they've got their first choice keeper, and we've got Teddy Sharman low, and we'd taken off most of our good shooters at this point as well. Kyle Palmer had gone, Liam Delap had gone. So even if it had gone to penalties, we probably still would have lost. But it was just a little bit annoying to be like, to see the players brought on that we've all been struggling with for the last year, the likes of Tosin, the likes of Liam Delap, and see them fail to make an impact on the game against, ultimately, what I haven't really talked about very much, is the fact that it was a 10-man Tottenham. Kevin Dano got sent off right at the beginning of the second half, and ultimately our good players failed to capitalise on that as well. So that isn't just beating the guys that came on with a stick. But at the same time, they did concede the last kick of the game. Pretty much. It was 20 seconds or something to play after that. But after Tottenham scored, it was literally the end of the game. It was going to go to penalties. And like I say, it doesn't really matter. There's no jeopardy in the game in itself. But you can analyse that moment and being like, that's just a classic Chelsea thing that we've struggled with recently, isn't it? And especially with a lot of the players that were on the pitch at the time, is struggling to hold on at the end of games. So look, I'm not like absolutely livid about this. Like, if this was Chelsea Tottenham in November, yeah, I'm not happy at all. Do you know what I mean? But I expect there's going to be a lot more changes to the squad by then. I expect the football is going to look a little bit different as well. Xabi Alonso seems to starting to be implementing the three at the back from the four at the back. Which is actually, I did a video about that a little while ago. It seems like that might be the way we're going forward. But yeah, just a loser for Chelsea because A, we actually lost the game. B, it was Spurs, and C, the nature in which we lost it was kind of annoying as well. So guys, that's it. I'm going to start wrapping the video up there. But the winners and losers from today's video were Estevao Willian. I thought he looked fantastic. Kevin Dano got sent off after 3 minutes, which is funny. Matty Tel looked really, really good for Spurs. I'm not going to lie. Chelsea's midfield looks like it needs looking at, to be completely honest. Marco Palestra, really excited about this guy. And yet, Chelsea losing against Spurs always sucks. So guys, this is a test run at a new type of series I'm going to be doing. I wanted to do something a little bit different with my match reviews for the upcoming season. So I'm going to try this winners and losers thing. Tell me if you like it, if there's any sort of adjustments, or if there's something that you would like to see rather than just a match review that, highlighting certain things in the game as well. Normally, it'll be a little bit different because one thing I will say is a SofaScore didn't even give ratings for the players, do you know what I mean, in pre-season. So that's the thing. I'll have a lot more information to work with when the season starts proper. So these will be a little bit more in depth. This is basically all just based off the eye test. But if you like this kind of format, let me know in the comments. But if you're not into it and you've got something else you'd like to see, I'm open to suggestions because I want to make content for you. Nice one, guys. Keep it locked today because I will have another video coming out later. Obviously, we've got João Pedro's new contract to talk about, and you never know what's going to happen in the world of Chelsea. Because yesterday we were linked with Lewis Hall, Adam Morton, and Alex Scott, and then we found out that Mudryk had come back. So I'll be releasing another video later today. I hope you guys are all really enjoying your weekend so far, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.